With selections in Photoshop, we often think of complex cutouts and composites. But I often use selections a bit like masking tape to protect one area while I repair another. Here's an image from a recent 5-minute video, I'll link to that one below, where there's a person just behind the tail of this aircraft, and I didn't notice them at the time. If we use the polygonal selection tool like masking tape, we can remove this person. I did try content aware fill, but it didn't work quite as effective as it normally does. What we need here is a little bit of human guidance. Now I've selected my polygonal lasso tool, and we need to start by enlarging the image considerably, and I've done this to around about 300%. This makes creation of the selection much easier. Now the polygonal lasso only selects in straight lines, but at this zoom factor and with small steps, that's not an issue at all. The technique is very simple. We take small steps with this tool on curves, and we can take longer steps on the straight parts. The tighter the curve, the smaller the steps. The important part of this selection is where it hugs the tail of the aircraft, because that's where it's working as masking tape. On the other side of the person, it's not so crucial, as you'll see in a moment. Here's a tip when making selections. You can save and retrieve a selection via the Select menu above, choosing Select, Save Selection. It's very good for more complex selections or just for a little bit of confidence when we're doing this sort of work. The Save Selection stays with the image. Now we need to feather the edge of that selection, just soften it a little bit with Select and Mask. Down at the bottom right corner, all I need here in the feather radius is something like 0.5 to 1 pixel. That should be enough, and I'm going to output this back to a selection, so click OK. Once we've done that, we need to create a new blank layer. Bottom right of the layers palette here, the little plus sign, we're going to create a layer above the image because all the repairs are going to be done here. I'm going to select my clone tool. Now once I've got that selected, I need to make sure I've got this option checked. I need to choose current and below, and that's going to ensure that we can sample from this area here, paint into this area to do the repair, but all of the painting is going to appear on that blank layer. So there's no risk here whatsoever. Now what I'm going to do here is to press the Alt key, click to sample. Then I'm going to move to the right because remember, the only areas we can paint into are within that selection. So if I paint in there with a few taps and then move up, you can see that within a few seconds I can repair all of that top section. I can change my sample point quite often and sample from that point and paint down here. It's quite important to change the sample point fairly often so we don't get a repeat, a snake-like appearance when we paint over an area that we're cloning from. It's difficult to explain, but you'll know it when you see it. Well, I think you can get the idea here. I don't have to worry about this side of the selection, and this side is acting as my masking tape. I'm going to carry on and complete that leg. We still have the shadow to do. Now once I hit Ctrl D to remove that selection, you can see that the removal of that guy was pretty effective. But we do have his shadow to get rid of. To do that, I've selected my spot healing brush. So all I need to do with the spot healing brush is just to paint over this area, and that should be pretty easy to do. I'm a little bit close there, but we should be fine. Now the eagle-eyed among you will notice there was in fact somebody else behind the aircraft, and there you can see the telltale sign of that person's shadow. But using this technique, we can take away both of those feet and that shadow. So here you can see the two people that were in my way have been effectively masked out. But they are still there, and if I turn off that layer we created, there we can see them. Stray feet and a stray person. Once we're happy, flatten the layers and we're done. I'll see you next time.